What's up, everybody? It's good to see you again. My name is Kafa. I'm glad you could be here. And I have a special presentation for the water signs today. And I can't wait to get started. I enjoyed all of the feedback that you guys gave me from my first videos, right? And it was revolutionary for me because it kind of mentally pushed me past those limits that I created for myself, and now I'm in a whole new territory. And the funny thing is, about any time that I try to do this, anytime that I record, anytime that I think that I fail, I always find something different, and then the next time I record, it comes out like this. Almost like I have a better understanding of it. Almost like I needed to fail to find something that I needed to actually talk about. So here we go with it, right? All right. So now we got some brightness in here. Let me make sure. Okay. So look, the water signs hold a special place in my heart, being that I'm a Cancer. I'm a Cancer. I am an Aquarius moon. And I'm a Sag rising. So I got some water, some air, some fire in me. And that comes important when it comes to the tree of life and everything I've been talking about since, because affinity plays a good role in what you, as a water sign, we're going to get into it, were brought here to do. Or like that divine clue, that way, that thing that you can hear that would say, oh no, I know how to do that. Oh, I like when I do that. Usually it involves your gift, but I want to call it for now a quirk. And my quirk was most likely, you learn yourself, and I'm finding out that my quirk is an inspiration and perspective. So using my quirk I got here, I'm able to now see the perspective of the mind, and I'm using this to go into the field of tarot, which is what I think it was meant for in the first place. Yeah, let's get to it. So let's get to the official description of Zenfinity, right? So the Zin-Finity Board is a divination multitool that allows the reader as well as the viewers to ethereally project conscious tarot, a place to see your cards come alive and consciously act out the role they play. Some readers are extremely gifted and can read these cards filthy, like ridiculously filthy. Like, I would swear that you've watched me and been on my phone and been in my whole social media. Filthy, crazy. You know everything about everything I've been going through, and you're just talking about it. But you don't know. I swear you know, right? But what if the cards that you put on regularly can put on the show? Now, welcome to Zenfinity, or Zfi. I like that name. It is a combination of quite a few materials, but the ones that you should be familiar with the most are of the Tree of Life. So looking at the Tree of Life, most of us who are in, tarot in general, who have ran into the Tree of Life, know about the major arcana and know about the Sephiroth. So looking at this board right here, you can see spaces for cards. Just know that they are the Sephiroth that you're placing the cards on. It just looks like this because when I combined it with the Philosopher's Stone, the Tree of Life holds all information. The Philosopher's Stone grants all power, right? So when I combined it with the stone, it gave me an actual thought that said, you know what? This is the scope of the mind, and now we're using the cards to decipher it. So what does that mean? For anybody, I wrote something else to help me out along the way, but let me put this back. Alright, so, who am I? Like I said, my name is Kafa. I'm an innovator. I'm an individualist. I found that out when I looked at my Enneagram, and when I look at my chakras. So if you're interested in that information, I can tell you, according to what chakras you are, what personality type you are most likely. So I am most likely an individualist. And the crazy thing about that is I love people who explore their individuality. Like, somebody who can just be them and not care, I admire them automatically. So I just found it funny when I made those connections, how it related to my life. Moving on from there, I'm a perfectionist. Hard body. You know, I can almost not even get here until I had a complete product. But it's a prototype for an app. And that's another reason why I'm here. I'm trying to get, exposure for the process of the app. If I can explain how the cards are read here and how it connects to the Tree of Life, something that you're familiar with, we can all see how, using the perspective of the mind now, you get the whole scope of the picture. Nothing's missed out. Nothing's missing. You have all the answers. No, that's the idea. But digging deeper into the knowledge of it, I'm, assuming right now that I'm right. And I would love people to take a dive into this too, because there's a lot of knowledge here. There's a lot of knowledge on the Tree of Life, I'm sure. And as we get into it, especially for the water signs, we are the signs of equilibrium. And I'm going to tell you about that right now. I drew something up. I'm going to make sure I'm going to put it in this camera real quick. So I drew something up, and just take a little look at it. What you can see right now is that this space right here, the equilibrium, that's all water signs. Everything else is grayed out because it's not a water sign element, right? So we, as water signs, are at the head of the equilibrium space. So we rule that space totally. There's only one other sign in that space, and then you have Malkut, which is not even a sign in general. It's more like a neutral thing, neutral place, right? But that sign is the Leo, and that's the only other sign. It's a fire sign that's also in equilibrium, and it has to do with the house of pleasure. But let's skip the fire signs real quick. We're gonna be biased today on water, so let's get to it. All right, so I am a Cancer sign. What did this tell me? I'm gonna show an image of what we're working with. I'm gonna show an image of the Tree of Life that I'm working with, the one that I created for this, and then I'm gonna move on to the understanding of it and how you go into understanding what the water sign needs. So I understand this is quick, but I did dedicate a whole video to it. So I'm sure that if I'm skipping information, you can take a look at the other video and it will make complete sense to you, to the point where you can just skip to the start of the reading. Watch for it. So I hope that you enjoy the content, and let's get to it. I felt like Tarot was missing something, and you're looking at it right now. I call it the Zin-Finity Board, or we can call it ZF for short. I like that name too, and that's gonna be the name of the app most likely, but we'll see. There were a lot of things in Tarot in general that I felt like was off, only because of the way I think. I think like a puzzle master or something. I don't know. It's the weirdest thing. Like, I always think that there's a puzzle, right? I love puzzles, so I love seeing puzzles. And when I ran into the Tree of Life, almost at the same time I was on the Philosopher's Stone. This is just within my own knowledge. I was just looking for answers, to find out who I was, and just interesting information in general. But when I got to this, I made the connection. Hopefully I've been showing you pictures already. And you can see how it has earth, water, fire, air, the Philosopher's Stone image. Take a second to look at this image. It changed my life. So moving forward from there, what did I do? I do drafting. I'm a cat's draftsman, right? Basically, you get down in the nitty gritty and really piece things together and find out how it works and tell everybody and tell them how it's priced, right? So that's what I did on the daily. But when I took it to here, I was able to look at everything from from, you would say, the 5D perspective, because that's what we deal with in drafting in general. We look at the 3D world and we rotate it and move it. So I thought of this completely different when I went into it. But one of the things I like to do with, in general, is make connections. I like to explore how things are connected to each other, like the 7 natural laws to the 7 chakras. When you explore that, you get so many places, from musical notes to anywhere. Like, honestly, just say the 7 and put it in Google, and it's almost unlimited. All right. Now, as I mentioned before, I love to inspire. And that's one of the things that I like to do no matter what. I can always find a way to inspire. One of my asks as a young child was, I was always put in positions where I was wishing I could say something to somebody and make them feel better. It's like, I wish I could say something right now that'll make this person feel better. And it was like an honest wish. Like, if I can do it, just let me do it. And it started as random nonsense coming out, but it was really helping people that I didn't know, right? So I found out that my inspiration was through a lot of the perspectives that I had. I thought very different, and as I shared that with my friends, my close people, it helped them. So why not use that here? I tell you that I found the whole perspective of the mind. Are you willing to explore that with me? So you see the cards all the time. Are you interested in what the cards can say here? Now, I mentioned that it's a storyline, or it's a story, and these are the characters. So what does it make these cards? People who are wearing costumes and doing the things that the slot says. So we're gonna, as I put cards here, or as I reveal them or whatever, how I'm gonna explain it, I think I'm just gonna put them all down. But as I reveal them, I'm going to show you what the card slot says. But before we get there, I wanted you to understand one thing. What did I see for the industry of tarot itself? I see this as the divine masculine approach to tarot as a whole. So what does that mean? That there's a divine masculine approach and a divine feminine approach. It is my belief that the feminine approach to tarot is the magnetic attraction, or almost like the pull, directly from source to your mind, to your throat chakra. It's like almost speaking exactly what spirit wants you to say right then and there. That's magnetic. That's almost like spirit speaking to you directly in your ear. But for people like me, the electric way works better with me. I need to see, like, how this almost makes sense to you, even in your third eye right now. I need to see what I was dealing with and what the cards are actually telling me to do. Very structured, very logical. Very structured, very logical, and that's what made me believe that this is the divine masculine approach to tarot. Now, using this as a powerful reader, I see so many powerful readers, and this is actually built for you. I have an app. My job here is to expose the information, but I will do diligence. I will, in a sense, be a reader in order to expose what this is supposed to do. I have to put on the first show. I have to show you what this is like. So, yeah. After I give you the examples as if I was you, the reader, or the listener, listening to these things, in my opinion, we will all have a better understanding of what we need to do at any given time. All of these readers are timeless. what am I helping you to do right now? Yeah. So, what did I understand? The Philosopher's Stone is known as the Stone of the Wise. And, the funny thing for me is little keywords always stick with me. The Tree of Life holds all the information. But if the Stone is of the Wise, the wise stone can use the information. For some reason, that always stuck with me. So it was like, if I learn how to use the stone, I become wise. And I always wanted to be a wise man. Only a few people know why I'm weak. But, yeah. I always admired people who just knew everything, and it's like I can almost ask them any question. Yeah. So, let's talk about the slots. Let me get it up on my computer real quick, so it's easy for me and quick for you. I am going to use my Magic Seer deck, right? It's my first deck. I'm sure I will have plenty more, just like you guys. Basically, I'm not going to be reading for reverse right now, but the whole process is going to be the same, because I'm sure that in doing this, we will have a clear understanding of what you can do with the life right now, how you can think differently, how you can see some of these things that are actually blocking you in your life. Now, as I said that, I remembered something. Where is the devil's playground? It's in the mind. You can't see him. He only operates in the darkness, and that's in your mind, right? So, if I'm telling you that this is your mind, you think we can find him? That's what we're here for. And in every reading is going to be like that. What is the thing about any masked entity in a movie? When they are masked, they look so much scarier. They can do so much more. But once that mask comes off, it's like, oh, it's just a person, and I can train or whatever and beat him and defeat him. The mystery goes away, and it's almost like the power of, I don't even know what to call it, but since the mystery goes away, you can put that whole thing in a bubble, and now it doesn't scare you like that anymore. It can only fear you if you decide not to do anything about it and decide to sit there and cower, right? But should you be like anybody who has a soul, you're gonna fight. And here we go, right? So, it's a journey, but let's get through it. Starting with the crown. Okay, that's what I'm gonna start doing. I'm gonna just start plucking and talking. That's what I'm gonna do. Starting with the crown, you have the law of mentalism, the sense of empathy and unity, psychological function of awareness and understanding. So what does that? That means that since, okay, what I'm gonna be doing is drawing in order that I have it on this board. You're gonna see the order eventually, right? Most likely you didn't catch all the numbers, but it's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It gets a little confusing, but it's perfect the way it is. Is weird. 9, 10, 11, 12, right? And what does that resemble? You're familiar with the Tree of Life. It resembles the energy going down the Kundalini to Malkut. And when it gets there, all the action is up to us with God's free will, right? The one that's here right now. God gave us his will to do. And, oh, man. For the people who've been on the journey with me so far, who've been in the last video, I'm going to just continue with what I'm saying. God gave us his will. But what does that leave God with? What does he have? He's just a presence without a will. So he freed will and left the presence. That makes sense to anybody? I gotta move on because I can't go too deep into it because I can be there all day. We're here for the water signs. But that's what I'm here for. I figured out that my gift is in the foundation, Yesod, right? Yesod is the foundation of the mind, the sacral chakra, the house of the home. The house of the home, right? This is the home, as I described in my last video. So, my job is to protect your mental home, right? This is your mental home. And let's start explaining it. I went to the crown chakra and wanted it to be the Empress. We're going to skip all of the explanations right now. We're just going to get into the details. We're going to give you the information that you're going to use in the next step. So I understand this is going to be a process, but it's worth it. Yeah, it's worth it. Okay. Ooh. Make sure it flips, because I understand how we feel. I don't think it's my energy, but okay. All of that just fell on the okay. So King of Wands. Okay. So this is your crown energy. Let me finish talking about that detail. Sorry about that. It is, since you are a soul, you have a right, and every one of your chakras give you a right to do something, right? And right, when it involves the crown chakra, your right and your psychological function, things that you are granted to do no matter what, are your awareness and understanding. You know, you can be aware and you can understand, and also you can know and learn. What does that mean? You can experience. Put it that way. Yeah. The challenge is an attachment, and the objective is detachment. Any experience that you have can be so good that you want to do it again. So think about the things in your life that you are attached to that leaves you on one side of the spectrum. Especially since you're a water sign. A lot of our attachment, if it's not an equilibrium attachment, even if it is equilibrium attachment, we could be attached to pleasure, but that's not our house. That's a fire sign's house. So we're just heating ourselves up. It's in a sense as water signs. Just making ourselves expand with no place to go. It's out of affinity. So it's more like, can hot water germinate a seed, or does it need to be a cool temperature? That's the best example I can give, because if you put steaming hot water on a seed, I think it would just kill it. I'm not an expert, but I think it would just kill it. Right? So understand what pleasure does for a Cancer. Understand what pleasure does for a water sign. Alright. So the Empress is an earth card. And this is about foundation. So that's a good sign when it comes up to the water sign, because when it comes up to water and earth, they support each other. Okay. So the Empress is a good sign. It's sitting in her power. The Hierophant, good sign. King of Wands, good sign. They're all on the throne right now, and that's crazy because that's in the higher dimensions. The crown and the dark and the light energy is in a separate dimension than where we are. We are everything after the ether, and that's the only thing we can actually process. And since I found this out, this is basically the face of ether, the face of Da'at, or the face of zero itself. So, looking at this, we're in good standing. Everything is in order. Well, it's more like getting the throne and you're ready to battle. You ready to fight. Because the Empress is a 3. and that is a Trinity. And that's a good card to have here. Because not only is it your essential nature, when I'm looking at the tree of life right now, because I just have this stuff around me. Now it's just so much information I just gotta keep up with it. The Empress is telling me that since you're on the equilibrium scale, let me bring it out for you real quick. Now, I'm reading strictly just for information and I want to prove it. The Empress is right here along this line. I know I showed, let me see if I can get this over here. The Empress is right here on this line. And as I said, we water signs are equilibrium. So I can't even point to that shit. We water signs are a part of the equilibrium. So having the Empress there is a great card to have in your essential nature, because you don't knock yourself off of your knowing, your understanding. And okay, so when it comes up to your ambition and the people around you that can help you to get there, it's almost like it's unlimited. You can help anybody. I'm talking to the water signs right now because people take advantage of us because we have that ability and they don't even know it. We have that ability to even out the energy from the left and the right spectrum. We are literally walking equilibrium energy, just spewing it all over the place. And this is why people love us, right? So there are 3 different types of water signs. That means that there are three different types of quirks that the water signs have. When it comes to the Cancer, I would tell you that this is the mental foundation. So that's my quirk as a Cancer. And what does that mean? At the root chakra, or Malkut, you have fear. The challenge is fear. And let's just say if this was a game, which in my last video you'll hear me, right? First is the earth, then is the water. That means that the earth is conquered by the water, right? So if I have my foundation in order, my fears will always be under subjection. So that means that we can help people as water signs, or as a Cancer sign, right? Relieve people of their fears with the way we understand how the mind works and the foundation of your emotions work. We understand the emotions greater than any other sign, in my opinion, right? We understand the scale of emotions better than anybody. Other signs can read them, but the scale of it, I'll know exactly the level of emotion that you're giving me and which way to react or respond to. Hopefully it's respond, right? Because that's our problem. We, as Cancers, right? We are connected to temperance and a star. And what that meant for me, those are 2 physical processes. Temperance is about patience. So we Cancers have no problem being patient with people. But as the Empress and the Hierophant and the King of Wands, they all sitting on their throne, being patient, waiting for something to do. It's like, okay, I'm not going to say that this is not stagnant so far, but you're in the right position. But are you moving on it? Are you acting on the things that you can see? Because it seems like you have everything. You have the people that you need, and you have the things that you need coming towards you. So what is it to be worried about? Yeah. So let's go, before we move on, let's go over some of these forces. And I'm going to push these over here real quick. Just understand that this is your crown or your essential nature. I went over it already, but let me finish it again. The challenge is your attachment. The objective is the detachment. The identity is universal. So this has to do with your identity of knowing that we are all connected. And whatever you do to the next person can affect you the same way, because you know the laws of karma, right? So, okay. For some reason, I'm getting music. It's sitting and listening to music right now. And why is there so many stars in your head? Okay, so somebody listens to music and it motivates them. So why not? Whoever's stopping you from listening to this music right now, or whoever's stopping you from doing that thing, okay, that catalyst that you have, thank you. There's a catalyst that somebody has that somebody doesn't want in their lives. Meaning, there's something that gets you going that your significant other or somebody around you don't want in your life. So that means somebody is nervous of your power. And that's probably why you're not acting on it. So, let's move on from there. And get some of these forces out the way so I can get it. Crown energy is the force of one, right? Knowing who you are, going within, right? Knowing that we are all connected in a sense, right? So, going from there, you reach the dark energy. Now, think of this as divine desire. But when it's flipped for us, it's more like the energies that are coming towards us to give us that opportunity to go towards God's divine desire. I hope that made sense. So it has to be lined up for you to go towards it. So I hope that makes sense. And that is the Hierophant, which is also an earth card. Very slow energy so far. But it doesn't matter because, you know, they're sitting in the throne, patient. I'm getting very Cancer sign right now with the patience. But let me move towards the Scorpio because I'm glad we talked about patience. I don't think... I'll back it up. I don't think Scorpios are patient because they know how. That's exactly what I meant, and I'll tell you why. Scorpios are connected to Da'at, which is the infinite knowing of everything, right? You guys know how. But the problem with that is that it has to be there for you to use it. So it's not like you can create the things that you know how to use better than everybody. I would even admit that. You can't create the things that you can do. Somebody else has to create them. So these opportunities, like, you know, is a little funny for that kind of position. It's like, until it's there for you, can you master it? But you can master it. So there are a lot of things here for you to master. So don't think that you're limited. There's a lot of things in this earth that need to be mastered. Now, when it comes with the Scorpio, it's the house of sex and death. Now, I see sex and death as two of the greatest things that you can do as a human being. Sex brings life. You can add new life to the world. That's something that God admires, right? You can bring new life to the world and yours can end. Those are the two greatest effects that a life can have on this world. No matter what you say, no matter what you're doing, when you leave, that will have a greater impact. And when you bring life in, that will have a greater impact because that child will continue to affect the world. Those are the two greatest things. And the funny thing is, it made me think about potential. Because it also says sex and death. Now, when I thought about the sex, I thought about pleasure, which is in the Leo, the sun, right? So, it's not that we're looking for the sex of it. We're looking for the pleasure of it, right? That's what that made me think right now. Somebody's getting a little too freaky. Right? Be careful. But, okay. Continuing on with that sex and death, right? And that potential. When you, it's almost like when you abstain, I forgot the word, but when you stay away from the things that pleasure you, right? And you build this potential energy. The potential, because you can do it, it doesn't matter. It's when you decide not to, that potential just gathers on you. Think of it as sex, right? We're going to explain it in the most basic way ever, and that's the way I understood it. I should have just started with that way. When you go a long time without sex, there's a lot more potential in your mind because you're not pleasuring yourself. That energy is staying in your body as potential, and that's when you notice that when you ain't getting nothing, you all over the place, and then when you find it, you're still. So this is why I said you're getting too much, because you're still, and you got a lot of work to do. So I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I'm only going to tell you that you're wasting your potential. And that goes both ways. We can both waste our potential. And we always call it an energy exchange, right? So who's getting what energy? Nikola Tesla said, don't look at me. He said I don't think he got married because he knew the disadvantages of a female. It was the weirdest explanation I ever heard of. No, I'm not getting married. That was the biggest explanation I ever heard. I didn't understand it. But when they got to this, when we, as guys and girls, as men and women, when we get some, we don't need nothing else. Because the greatest feeling that you can achieve in this life is sex and death, right? One of those two. That gives you the greatest sense of pleasure. Almost bringing life and almost losing it. And that's when you get a lot of adrenaline junkies. Almost losing it gives you that sense of life, that potential, that energy to, it's weird when it goes into their heads, but it all seems like they do it to live. To feel alive in the biggest sense of it. They are the most grateful for their lives because they put themselves into the way of most harm. Just to only test God and to see if he's there or something. I don't know. That's what I got from that. I always thought that they were just trying to say, God, are you here? Let me find out. And if they survive, he's definitely here. He's definitely there. I put myself through this. He's here. I don't know. That's what I get from there. So if you're taking things, if you're going too fast or something, slow down. It doesn't even have to be something of an adrenaline junkies, liking. You don't even have to be that way. It can be something that you like, that you are going too hard on, too fast. Slow it down. Take your time. It doesn't have to be all done in one shot. But that's when it comes with the water signs. Since we know about equilibrium, we don't like advice because it pushes us to one side and it pushes us to another side, and that's not where we are. And that seems weird, right? But think of it this way. When you tamper with water, it becomes more of the other thing. So you can put a drop of Kool-Aid packet in the water, and it would not be water no more. In a whole gallon, it would not be water no more. It would not be water. And that's the craziest thing. When you add anything to water, it would not be water no more. It'd be that thing mostly liquefied. It's weird. Water comes second after it. So us as water signs, have the struggle of basically believing in who we are and keeping it. But I could be talking about the Cancer sense. When it comes to the Scorpios, we're going to go to the Pisces next, so let's get to that next. Scorpios have a lot of knowledge on the how. But the Cancer's foundation is in order. Is the Scorpio's foundation in order? There are a lot of things that stop them too. And and it has to do with not knowing. Yeah, the absence of knowledge, but it requires experience. So I guess I just gotta go head first in some things. That's what I'm getting for the Scorpios right now. But let's move on to Pisces. When I looked at Pisces, I found out that Pisces has a moon and Cancer has a moon. Pisces has a card that is the moon, and not for Cancer, right? But then Cancer, its Sephiroth is the moon, but its card is the High Priestess, which is moon or silver energy. So I hope you can understand that. It's a different type of moon energy. It's two, hold on, 1, 2, I want to say 3 right now, but right now I can't think of the third one. But there's 2 moon energies on the Tree of Life. 1, 2, 3. No, okay, I had it. So there's a Sephiroth, right? And then there's the 2 cards, which is the High Priestess and the Pisces card, which is the moon. The moon card, which is a Pisces card. It's not a Cancer card. It's weird. The High Priestess is a Cancer card. I was confused. I was so confused because anytime the moon card came out, I could have sworn that was for me. It's for Pisces. And that's what my studies have showed me. I bet you want me to hear it on this, but let's go. I'm ready for it because you would have to prove it to me. You would have to prove it through knowledge, and I've been through some channels, and if we ran into the same channels, you just have a field day with the information. They're like, oh wow, yeah, this is like this, and maybe it'll help. That's what I'm here for. It's the foundation of the mind. So I'm here to expose what this means. So moving on to the Pisces, right? The Pisces card is the moon. And let me get my... Kether, which is at the top of the Tree of Life. The crown energy, right? It has 2 affiliated cards with it. One is an affinity card, and one is an alignment card. Cards you deal with all the time. The affinity card for the Pisces, which is Kether, is the moon card, as what I was just saying. But the alignment card, which is, you can understand that. Due to alignment, you are more energetically I don't know, you can say active towards doing something. During an alignment, the chances of you doing something good is greater. I hope you got it. During alignment, the chances of you doing something that's more powerful is greater. More powerful towards your actual enlightenment for yourself, greater. Towards something negative, greater. It works both ways, but we can choose it because we have our free will, the thing that God gave us to do, right? We're just walking will buckets. I will do this, right? Let me not even talk about it. But Pisces is the house of secrets. Pisces, you guys, I thought I was a Pisces moon at one point, but when I looked at my Vedic, I resonated with it more because I was an Aquarius and it made sense to me. And it just did. I don't know. I just know I am, right? So Pisces, you guys are the heads of knowing why. The why factor. Absolute champs at it. You guys know why. And it makes sense more to me when the moon card comes out. It gives you your why. It reveals everything, right? That's the Pisces nature. It's dual-sided. And it has more of a connection to the moon than us Cancers when it comes to that type of energy. And I loved it because it connected me to the High Priestess. And in my first extended video, the High Priestess came up at Ether. And I lost my mind. So check it out. Alright. So I hope that gives Pisces a good explanation of some of the things that you can do with why. Because you know why, how many people can you help with telling them why? The whys that you gathered in your life as a Pisces. The whys that you tell people that really get them to really see your way, but not overpowering. More like, wow, I was inspired because I saw you do something because of your why. Your why is so strong that it can seep into somebody else's soul. So, as for Pisces, be careful of who you're around, because your soul is powerful. Your thoughts are powerful, because your why is very connected to God's why. So try not to implement that into other people's lives, even though you know what could be good for them, even though that's your divine calling, even though you know exactly what advice to give somebody. It could be out of time, and that's not your domain. You can only wait for the chance, the opportunity. So when it comes to Cancers, we're patient with the mind, but when it comes up to Scorpios, you guys are patient with the knowledge, with knowing how, right? Then when it comes up to Pisces, you guys are attuned with the why that gets everybody going. Your why gets everybody going. So that's how powerful you are as a Pisces. Shout out to y'all. Yeah, and it's all in the aspect of equilibrium, right? Because if you find out your why, you won't be swayed by somebody else's why. But like I said, that's a gift and a curse too, because the people you are around might just start being like you because you're so strong. Silence is golden, and this is why it's the house of secrets. You have to be quiet with who you are in order for people to be themselves. Why did God tell me to say that? I don't know, but yeah. Also, it's about aces and new beginnings, because if you find out that everything that you've been through, you find out the reason why, you start over. You see everything different, and that's what the Pisces is the head of. Right? So if you got a Pisces in your life and you trying to get to that ace moment, they will get you to it, but you have to be willing. And if you tell a Pisces, what is the advice you have for me, you have to be willing to swallow that. And also, as the Pisces, you have to be willing to give it to them gently, because just because you know, don't make it cute. It don't make it cute. This is somebody's life that you're talking about, and all of the problems that they've been through. You have to treat it as like it's this delicate flower. You do. You have a lot of power. Scorpios, you have a lot of knowing of why, and of how, right? You are also connected to the high priestess, which is me, which is the funny thing, because my house is filled with Scorpios. Filled with Scorpios. And I found out that I have a link with the high priestess instead of the moon, right? So it put me in the perspective, because this is why we had like this balance. This is the weirdest balance we ever had in this house, but it worked. That was probably a big factor in that, and it just made me feel good about myself, right? You know, the fact that you can help, that you were helping. I might have been helping and I never knew it, and until I got here, I said, oh wow, yeah, because 3 of them are Scorpios. 3 of them. Yeah. Alright, so let me officially put that down. Let's get back to these cards, and let's talk about these forces really quickly. I hope you can retain some of the things that we've been talking about, because it's going to get crazy. It's going to get informative. It's going to wrap your head around itself, because it's supposed to. Finally, right? Alright, so naturally this is the earth energy, and it feeds the water, right? It feeds itself in the water. the water feeds the water, the air feeds the air, fire feeds the fire, earth feeds the fire, right? I just needed to say that real quick. But when it comes up to time, it goes earth, water, air, fire. Earth, water, air, fire. Right? And starting for water is winter, spring, summer, fall. Winter, spring, summer, fall. I hope you can understand that, because the time flows this way. As a reader, when you ever need to understand the progression of the time, these are the 4 that you look at. And they go in this backwards, counterclockwise direction. On purpose. So don't think that you're going backwards in time. That's going forwards. Trust me, one of those backwards things that you just have to understand when you look at this. I explained it in my first video, but I gotta move on. So that's with those elements. You hear the readers talk about this all the time. You hear the readers talk about the dark and the light energies. Understand that in your spirit, think of it as where dark energy resides. In your mind, think of it as where light energy resides, or where it's used, right? So, but those are spectrums. Just like black and white are not colors, they're hues, right? So they run under and over the colors, and that's the same as the energy. The light energy runs over and under the elements. The dark energy runs over and under the elements, right? Can work both ways. So the dark and light is in and all around, but just to understand it here, it looks better this way, because this is a down. Let me explain this really quickly. This is God's desire. This is God's, I guess, his phantom will, because we have his will. His light guides the way. So we have God's will. His light guides the way. Yeah. Okay. I said that correct. Alright. So let's go up the chakras really quickly. Or whichever way you count the chakras, we're going to start from the earth, going to the crown. So earth, root, sacral, solar plexus, heart chakra, throat chakra, right? But the throat chakra is 3 parts, and to explain that, you would have to understand perspectives and how you need 3 points in order to have an image. It's almost like to have the 3 dimensions we live in, we needed 3 points of perspective. We needed a length, a width, and a height, right? So this runs the same way in that concept. So without the 3, you couldn't have that perspective that we needed. I hope that made a little bit of sense. But the perspective is a triangle, and it's a trinity in itself. And ether has 3 parts. Let's talk about them. There's the aspirational part of ether, which is where you can go and where you've gone, right? It's more like the time aspect, or the aspiration and the time aspect. When it comes to desire, understand that God is up here and we're here doing the things. So he can tell you what he wants, and he can show you how to do it, but we have to do it, and we have to want it, right? So that's how those work together, right? Alright, so you also understand the 4 worlds on the tree of life. You have Absolute, which is this triangle right here. Absolute is the world of emanation, or the divine, right? Then you have Beria, which is the place of the spirit, which is this section right here, the circle, and that is the world of creation. Then you have Yetzirah, which is the world of formation, which is this space of the mind right here, right? It's all connected in one piece. Watch, you're going to see the tree of life come to life on this diagram, and when it does, it'll start to speak to you, because there's so much information oozing off of this. I can barely read for the signs, but the readers will be able to. My job, I think, is just to mainly expose it expose how this information is depicted on. Expose it. Maybe we can help each other out. Right? So yeah. Ether comes in these 2 parts, 3 parts, desire and will and aspiration, right? As I said, this is God's path. Oh, let me fix this. This is God's path and his desire. This is our desire and our actions, right? So what does it mean for this spot and this spot? Now, as a listener, as the person who's being read for, I'm sitting in the crown position, right? I have my crown. The reader is reading for the person who has their crown, right? The reading for the main person of the show, the star of the show, the star of the night, right? We're reading for this energy right here. So what does that mean for this aspiration? We come to the reader to get guidance for where to go, right? We come to the reader to find out what's blocking our heart so we can fill this space. Instead of just feeling the emotions, we can use them to desire and get connected with our spirit, which is this triangle right here, this right triangle right here. Imagine this top triangle split into 2 pieces, but also kept its own shape. And then after that, it became the id and the ego. The ego is your personality, the id is the zodiac, right? So, emotions plus heart equals desire. Earth, okay, how should I say this? Things plus a reason or a rhythm equals the will. No, how should I explain that? You need something physical in order to operate with. God is a non-corporeal being. He can't manifest himself in this dimension without breaking laws, right? Because I don't even know how to explain that. But that means it's our duty to experience the things that he dreamed of or she dreamed of, right? Let me explain this in a different way. Matter of fact, I know what I'm gonna start doing. This is the part where I get confused and I don't pull cards. I'm looking for an explanation, but I don't have the extra cards. Right? Okay. Okay. How should I do this? I don't know how I should do this. Alright, there's too many. But the Ace of Pentacles is coming out. 2 of Wands. Alright. He only has 1 wand in his hand. And it's funny that it's on this side. You're done with feeling. And that's a good thing. Because feeling just leaves you in the box. Right? Desiring gives you that stability. Because you find out what you can use with your body. With the things that are there. Right? You can make them. Or you can use it. Right? Yeah. When you desire more, you find out what you have, then you use it according to your will, and you get a rhythm with it. And eventually, using this rhythm, you kind of transcend the process of what you're doing, and it becomes a different thing. And then you find that reaching your aspiration is easier. So, whatever mundane thing that you think that you're doing right now, that doesn't seem like it's going to benefit you at all, keep doing it and study it as hard as you can, because it's not pointless. Nothing is pointless. If it keeps popping up, it's not pointless. You didn't learn something yet. And if you don't think God is stubborn too, we get it from him. So until you learn those lessons, these things gonna keep popping up. And since you're a water sign on the equilibrium, you can have a balance of people in your life that balance you. But that's everybody else's energy doing that for you. And what are you actually doing for yourself? Everybody's holding you up. You got to look for that piece of you that holds yourself up. The piece of you that keeps you stable. And that has to do with the foundation of the mind, you know? Oh, I have this all backwards. Alright. So there's a lot of fire here and earth. And what does that mean for water? Alright. Since earth is in a dark space, earth should naturally be on this side. Water should naturally be in the middle. And no. Let me explain it this way. Earth and fire should naturally be on the side of the mind, right? Air and water should naturally be on the side of the spirit. When it comes up to equilibrium, they sway both ways. So that means that your equilibrium is shifted to over here a little bit. When it reaches the Empress, it's shifted to over here a little bit. And when we come to the body, you'll find out if it's shifting over here to a little bit. So what does that mean? It's pointing out to you are taking action, or you need to take action. So this is how the Zin-Finity Board is gonna like show some of those things that are in your way. Alright, I think I'm gonna just start drawing cards, because it doesn't matter how much I shuffle. Okay. Whoa. 4. Knight of Swords. Is in affinity order, right? But let's see about this real quick. I'm gonna pluck something else. Yeah, it's a lot of royalty here. Only 9 year aspiration. Why you don't think that you're worth it? You know the craziest thing about this right now is that what's the difference between this and a magician? The magician has a candle and a sword in one hand, right? If I'm not mistaken. But he has one wand in his hand right now, and I take that as the same thing. That's what that's giving me. So, what's stopping you from being a magician? I almost put it on the fire, so it should go. This is 2 wands. The wands is about emanation, so. Okay. Alright. I'm definitely not making it up when there's a lot of royalty in here. But it's really like mental, foundational energy. So these energies that are around you as a water sign, right? See? Cards don't even want to come out. Because as I told you, the devil will always show himself in this reading, because this is the only place he can occupy in the mind. And if I found all the places, there's no place for the negativity to hide. So we will find what's off and correct it, just with our mind, right? You see, I'm really not making this up. It's trying to come out, but it's gonna show himself later. I'm not making this up. I mean, if you saw my hand, how crazy it looked just now, anybody make that up. Okay, this one I wanted to pop out. 6. Okay. The Wheel of Fortune is a fire card. Opposite of his affinity, but so is the earth. So let's see what this is talking about. And fortune in the spirit. The spirit knows what you have coming to you, but are you taking the actions towards it? It seems like there's a lot of sitting, a lot of stagnant energy. Oh, I don't know if I saw that at all, but this wanted to come out. 7. Page of Swords. Man. It's a great card to have there. Okay. I think now the divine wants to talk. Oh. Nah, this one was flew off my... That High Priestess flip over and then flip back. And where is this going, guys? Oh, okay. 8. High Priestess. I was just talking about the High Priestess and how that's affiliated with Cancer signs, right? So what we're about to do right now is get into the nitty-gritty of what's stopping you and what's blocking you, because everything else that we talked about was about your essential nature, so things that you are attracted to, things that you do, the things that are in your body and your aspirations. But everything else is action, and action involves time. So we are about to uncover which area, according to your chakras, according to your elemental energies, are being influenced or blocked. And it will give us the answer for everything that's here. So let's see about that. Oh. Okay, so 9, 3 of Cups. Let's just get all of these out and then I explain everything, because I'm starting to understand this. Emperor. Am I making it up? Okay. The Tower came up on the water card. It's funny how it came there. I must explain it now. Tower moments are very good moments, because I was explaining the emotions and how your desire is what you will want to have, and not just emotions. Emotions just pass the time, right? Your desires, you take control of the time. So understand how this guy clearly taking charge, and when he did that, that emotional tower, everything that was around you that was falsely keeping you up, is not out of it, because not that you've outgrown it, but you're done taking the torment from it. It required too much energy of you. It took too much out of you to keep that image up, to keep that play going on, to keep yourself stagnant. Just like you're doing this to yourself. Now you're going after your desires. Okay, let me get this Earth card out, because this is our supporting card. And what's supporting us right now? The Eight of Pentacles wanted to stay in my hand. The Eight of Pentacles wanted to stay in my hand, but it's too much to drop at the same time. And nothing called out to me yet. Plus, this is the last card on the rotation. But there are 3 extra spots that I haven't dealt for. I'm going to do that later. After I get the explanations and how everything goes together. Got it. Alright. So the Queen of Wands. Alright. So, let's take this, let's go on this rundown really quickly. Empress is crown energy, and your challenge is attachment. So, when it comes to an earth sign, you are attached to emotions because that supports you. It also gives you that crutch. So, the more you pay attention to your emotions, the more stagnant you're going to be. Because they're holding yourself back. When you let them run freely, like think of this body as earth, as the ground. Think of it as more as the ground. And when the ground is of good soil and good water, plants grow. And this is why there's the symbolism of this tree here. I don't even know if the artist knew, but it was absolutely perfect, right? So, this cycle is definitely done because there was a Tower moment. And it's on our affinity. So that means that we are completely different beings right now. We are thinking completely different. We're scaring everybody around us. We're not acting the same way. We're not doing the same things. And we're not supplying them, as I said before, with the equilibrium energy, that balancing energy that we provide so freely as water signs for them to keep their own balance. So the people around you are freaking out because you're not giving them the same things that you gave them freely anymore. Honestly, are you even that person who gives it freely anymore? People have to work for that now. You're more guarded, and that's a good thing. And it took this Tower moment, and that looks like a lot of tribulation. We wanted to jump out the window, it seems. So happy that it's burning down. The crazy thing about the Emperor and the Tower, right? This is fire, and the Tower is also fire, right? But this is the solar plexus, and the Tower is literally the gap that bridges between Hod and Netzach. So, yeah. So you are moving completely different. This is like 4 cycles done, and it took you that 4th time to really recognize. 3 times you're out? No. It took you 4 times to recognize what was happening to you before you decided to change because you didn't like what was being done to you. People will take advantage of anything that they can. And that goes for your energy that they don't even know that they need. They don't know that it provided them. Understand that the only other sign that's in equilibrium is the Leo sign. So that fire energy is the one that has a natural equilibrium. The fire energy of a Leo. And I happen to be a Cancer Leo. So, you're just spewing equilibrium out here. Right? Yeah. So, let's continue talking about these card slots. As I said before, for the 5th time, the crown energy is represented by the Empress. So the Empress has, imagine the crown has a costume, and the Empress put that costume on, and is now playing it out for us, right? So the Empress has her gown on perfectly, sitting there, just sitting in her power, right? Waiting for the abundance. The Empress, oh man, alright. The Empress and the Tower both share an equilibrium aspect. One goes from Bina to Hokmah, right? So that involves the equilibrium of the light and the dark energies, right? And that's with the Empress. And it's funny that it sits here in the yin yang, because that means that these two are balanced with this energy. So this is a great card to have here because it's going to do this position justice. So divine alignment and divine timing is standing out to me because you have no problem waiting. Okay, God just gonna keep putting stars in your head until one of them stars just fly out and become $1 billion. I don't know. I'm looking at this Empress right now, and she got so many stars on her head, I wonder if she even see them. It's 12 stars on her head. Yeah. Yeah, that one kind of stuck me, I ain't gonna front. But it's unity sense. It's the right to know what to learn. The attachment is the challenge. The detachment is the objective. Identity is universal. Moving on from the crown chakra, you have the dark and the light. They both kind of run the same, but it's two aspects, two different. Like I said before, black and white are not colors, they're hues. So that goes the same for dark and light. There's a spectrum, a scope of something, right? So dark and light is a scope of correspondence when it comes up to that law, right? So as for the dark and the light, we have the Hermit. We have the Hierophant in the dark position and the King of Wands in the light position. The Hierophant is out of affinity, but the Hierophant, marriage, alliance, captivity, servitude by another account, mercy and goodness, inspiration, the man whom the current has recourse. Don't know what that is. But if you're aligning yourself with God's desire, of course it's going to be a time moment for these emotions, because you don't need it no more. Because you have a piece of that desire. You have your why. It's like, instead of just contemplating on one, you chose one and decided, which is better than being stagnant. So your decision making at the end of the day is going to help you out. So whoever's telling you that you're not making the right decisions for yourself has never taken a step in your shoes for them to tell you anything like that, because nobody can. You can only actually take everything with a grain of salt and say, I'm going to do something now since I have all this information. You really have to make your own decisions no matter what you hear. And this is how you keep yourself true to yourself. You don't let anybody sway your emotions. And it's the easiest for us water signs, because everything is so off balance in this world. Not a lot of people are truly balanced within themselves. If you found a few of your friends that are balanced within themselves, don't ever lose them. Don't ever lose them. Hug them. Tell them you love them, right? Mercy, goodness, and inspiration. That's what's on your dark energy right now. The energy of going within. So when you go within, this is that process. You're aligning yourself when you went within. When it comes to the King of Wands, right? And the light space. Now, it's in the element. It's in your affinity. But let's see what it means. Dark man, friendly, countryman, generally married, honest and conscientious, right? So, okay. The best way I can describe this is this way. You know how to make it, but is it gonna leave you feeling like yourself? Is it gonna leave you honoring yourself? Is it gonna leave you, can you look in the mirror after you did this thing that got you that balance that you think you needed? and say, okay, I love you still, or you're going to look at yourself with a sour look. You want to find and you want to operate in your life in a way where you can openly not be ashamed of the decisions you made and the actions you've taken. But we don't live in that perfect world. So you really have to get it together. Understand this is the battle. And they after all of us. And if you stand on the opposite side of like just people who get this torment to them, you're basically food. You can't be food. You have to put up your boundaries. You have to set up these walls, mental, physical, whatever. Right? That say, I won't allow this to happen to me, and I don't like this. I don't want this energy in my life. This is not how I want to operate. And it almost creates that barrier where these things won't affect you. But thinking that because you want to do it this just way, you're going to just be allowed to do it and not have any trials. You're going to have trials. So you might not be able to sit down all the time. Look at what's happening with your desire. It's being contested by your emotions. Well, how should I put it this way? Your desires are contesting your emotions and winning that battle. You're finding out what you truly want. And all it took was for you to know a little bit about yourself. Let's see what this... I'll follow the energy. Dear Cups. So it says, the conclusion of any matter. Plenty, perfection, merriment, happiness, victory, fulfillment, solace, and healing. Something happened to you recently that gave you your answers. Remember how I was telling you about how... Okay. No, I didn't. Let me just continue reading. I'll go back to it. Okay. So there was something that fulfilled you ever so slightly recently that you can't take your mind off of. And it gave you that sense of desire that they cannot take from you no more. It doesn't matter what anybody is saying to you in your life right now. You had that inkling of what you wanted. And it is so powerful. Yet it was so silent coming towards you. They can't destroy it. They don't know where it is. They don't know what it is. And don't tell them. Keep some of the things that you know about yourself a secret until you know how to defend it. Keep some of the things you know about yourself a secret until you know how to defend it properly. Because people who are also powerful will walk over you without even knowing. And knowing at the same time, and use your gifts for themselves. That's how powerful we are as people. You come into somebody's house, you feel that energy. Your power... Oh, forget it. Oh, man. Energy is fluent. Energy is fluent. Let's put it that way. And you can be used just in somebody's presence. If you notice that they just have a whole bunch of ideas and creativity just around you, just enjoying your presence, especially as a water sign. This is why, because you balance them. They're always on the opposite sides. Always this way or this way. It's like black and white thinking. We don't have that ability to think black and white as water signs. We think in the whole spectrum, and it honestly leaves us at a disadvantage because the whole world thinks in this black and white way. But we know how to keep that equilibrium. Right? So yeah. Alright. Let's move on from these spaces real quick. So the dark and light had to do with correspondence, the law of correspondence, which is, yeah. So you have the Hierophant, which is the dark, and the King of Wands is the light. And it has to do with the law of correspondence, the sense of intuition, the psychological function of imagination, your right to see, and that comes in the dark sense, meaning to know what you want, right? And to know what you don't want. Or to know what's bad for you and to know what's good for you. Seeing comes in many ways. But the challenge is illusion. Now, you know how they say don't trust a girl with a fat butt? You know how they say don't trust that person with a pretty face? Right? What is it about that statement that's true? That pretty face lowers your guard, your defenses, makes you think otherwise, that like you don't know this game, right? So, a pretty face is wanted, but it gets a lot of evil in there at the same time. So be careful who you let in. You need to vet these people. Don't let them take advantage of you. If anything, learn them so hard that they can only benefit you. Learn them so hard that they can only benefit you. They really got it after you like that. Learn them so hard that they can only benefit you. If somebody is constantly on your back telling you what's wrong, know that you have a person that's always going to see your weakest spots. And that's something you should write down. Wow, this person is gifted to see the worst parts of what I do. Gifted. And it's also one of those grains of salt to swallow when it comes up to people in general. Somebody that's gifted to see the worst of you is gifted to train you, but not in the way that you might like. Gifted. 100% gifted, right? So, yeah. Dark has to do with the psychological function of imagination, the right to see. The challenge is illusion. The objective is reality. And that, that comes hand in hand with illusions. If you can decipher if it's an illusion or not, and is it right for you? Is it going to be a part of your life? Then so it becomes a part of your reality. Only until then, you have to accept it. So, we have to accept the programming that they put in this world for us. When you don't accept it no more, they on the lookout for you. But also other people who have accepted this way to live in this world are on the lookout for you, because they don't want you to rise above them, because they already see it. Right? Not only that, like I said, some of these people are gifted to see the worst parts of you, which means they are also gifted to help you out on these parts. So find a way to speak to these people. These people are very important in your life. You may not know them. They always seem like they just on your back about something. It's literally the weakest part about you, and that ego sense of it. When somebody knows the weakest part about you, the weakest thing about you, and they are always talking about it, they are so gifted, but they are using it so wrong. It's like you can talk about it in a different way. You can be talked to in a different way. You can go to counseling and talk about some of these things that you have problems with. Some people are just gifted to point out your worst faults, and it's just what it is. Yeah. This is what I'm getting from this right now. I might not even be able to get to the whole description. The description's in the other video. You're going to get that in the other video. Right now, it's for the reading. I don't got time to keep describing stuff. See? And that's another stagnant energy, thinking that you won't understand without an explanation. And that brings me to another part. You don't need to explain anything to anybody when it comes up to yourself, especially with a water sign. Believe a water sign before you believe anything else. Why? Because most likely their energy will also give you some knowledge about yourself. Their energy is in line with you. I don't know. Water signs gotta stick together or something like that. That's just, it's coming out to me. Sounds weird, it sounds funny, but If you have a water sign next to you, and if you are a water sign in this reading, pay close attention to them, especially if they're able to see your faults, especially if they're a good friend of yours. If they're a good friend of yours and they can see your faults, shower them with all the love that you can find. Yeah, because they're not gonna. That's the kind of friend that will tell you, absolutely not. Do not wear that dress outside. I will disown you. Say it straight in your face with so much love, and you would know, absolutely not. I'm not wearing this dress. And then you see some of these people with their friends that look crazy outside, and they friends be gorgeous. What happened there? Their friends was on the wave that if I just invited this person out that looks crazy, I would get the most attention. But do you know that? Do you know that for sure? The funny thing about, that was a very male to female oriented talk. But when it comes up to guys, we don't care at all. Honestly, if you fugly up front, we will respect you. 100% respect. If you come up to me presenting who you are, I have such a high respect for you. I don't care how you look. It's like, what? And you still came? Okay. Respect. All of this beauty on the outside ain't got nothing on the beauty that's inside. Nothing. Because I can sit there and say that that's beautiful. I don't know why I saw this pharaoh on the Wheel of Fortune right here. But it's not just a pharaoh, it's a sphinx that's holding a sword. It's like he's training. Got the Kundalini energy coming down, and this thing being rolled over by the wheel itself. So this is giving me alignment in the spirit, but let's see what the Wheel of Fortune has to say. Alright. Destiny, fortitude, success, elevation, luck, and felicity, right? Now, that would mean that your spirit knows what's for you. Because yes, your spirit has a connection to your soul. A higher connection to God. Your spirit does. Your spirit is the one that translates everything from God to your mind. The thing that you think that's working first. But, okay. Your mind translate what the spirit says through emotion and study. Wasn't my focus, guy. Man. So your spirit sees what is in line for you. Sees what kind of trials you had to go through to get to this point of feeling like you can actually do it. And they back you up 100% of the time. All the time. The time that you don't think that they're backing you up. They got the back and the front. Just you lined up and you don't even know it. Just take action. It's a lot of sitting here. But the place that has the most action for me is this. The Knight of Swords. And that's in your desires. And that's a good place to have action. Why? Because the more you desire, you can let that feeling sit there for as long as you think that you can hold it there. But you know, if you keep looking at that cookie, eventually the cookie would disappear. Who ate it? I don't know. What cookie? You would have finished that cookie so fast, you would have thought somebody stole it from you. Like, I plan to eat that, but it's gone. Who did it? You got crust on your mouth from a cookie. Don't even know it's you. Gone. Keep letting your desires build up like that. You're going to wind up walking over somebody with your desires. How strong they are. That was for somebody. But when it comes to the high priestess in the body, right? Let me look her up real quick. Now, when it comes to the body and the high priestess, the body is... I'm skipping all around because I think I'm just called to talk about what I'm called to talk about right now. I don't need to go over the whole thing. This is not a whole presentation. This is a reading, right? So look. High priestess is about mystery, secrets, the future, yet to be revealed. The woman who has interest in the current. I think the current is you. Right? So... yeah. When it comes up to the high priestess and the divine feminine aspect of it, it has to do with silence and mystery and wisdom, right? Science. So that's a learning process. You were stuck learning, but now since the high priestess is here, this learning can be used towards something. But it seems like since the water isn't here, the water is here and the water is here and nowhere else currently, right? On the high priestess, king of cups, and three of cups. Yeah. So these are the places that are highly aspected for me when it comes to reading for the water signs. Now, why would I be looking at this? This is in infinity, so it's working for you. This is out of infinity, but is it working for you? And the reason why I have to check that, because look, this is a space of earth and fire. Those are the two things that produce actions. When it comes up to water and air, that's a mental process that produces like almost deliberative results. You come to conclusions and actions. So this means that you haven't come up to any conclusions. You've come up to a set of emotions that you're now dealing with, and when you get past it, then you can act. And that's what that's giving me with this. There's nothing lit here. He has a cup and it has a torch that's not lit. So that's the confirmation for me with that. Now, why am I looking at the Page of Swords in the mind? So let's look at the Page of Swords real quick. That's a good sign. Authority, overseeing, secret service, vigilance, spying, examination, and the qualities thereto belonging, right? So you not letting these people pass your borders without checking them out first. I don't know why I said these people. It could not just be a person. It could be a thing. Maybe it's an addiction that you have. You're checking that right now. Why? Because you have the mental energy to do it. You're not afraid to look at yourself for the things that you brought for the position that you brought yourself to. You're not afraid to do it. That's great. That's the most important step. You are knighted here in this desire place, and you are a page here. So when your desire is finished, this horse is gonna come all the way over here and be a knight of swords instead. And that's all in the evolutionary process. You're gonna get there. You're already in the line. You're already training for it. When you get good at deliberating everything that's around in your life, you will have less problems. But right now, you have to worry about, not worry, you don't have to do anything. This is a free life. You can do whatever you want. The craziest thing about any time that I try to film, I always get interruptions, no matter where. And this is how I know it's so powerful, because my voice overpowers all that bull anyway. I'm a singer. Don't get me started. I will sing this whole reading over everything. Right? So this Page of Sword is how I feel right now with this whole thing. Yeah, I might be a little distracted, but I know what I came here for. I came for the water signs. So, yeah. Now I have a little migraine. Who's in your mind? Who's, and it's on my right side, so the right is the creative side. Yeah, it's talking about this tower moment. Whoever just heard me just now, we need to reflect on this tower moment. I need to talk about the water moment. Misery, distress, indigence, adversity, calamity, disgrace, deception, ruin. It's a card in particular of unforeseen catastrophe. So, pending doom. We water signs love, absolutely love pending doom. It's like it's a thing for us. Oh, this can happen. Why? Because we are attuned with the energies of equilibrium. We know when it's going to shift left or shift right, shift dark or shift light. We know as water signs when it's going to shift that way, right? So what is the tower telling us for our chakra that should be abundant right now, but it's under fire because naturally what you were doing was not working. It left you stagnant. So you need a new perspective. This crown is at the top of this tower and it's definitely about to fall. You got people with capes flying out of there. It's probably the king that was in there holding up this fake tower. Alright. Yeah. Okay. The star is in the darkness, but it's within you. And the tower is in the darkness, but it can be lit up with the things you put inside of it. So, there are some... I don't want to leave it as programming. I want to say there are some people who are influencing you, who were influencing you to believe in a certain way, and that kept your emotions as emotions and not desires. So as you get rid of some of these programming, some of this program that was basically, it could have been passed down to you. I don't know why I heard that. It could have been taught to you. It could have been, you could have heard it one day and never forgot it and thought it was the real thing. You could have anything. You know, some people are evil and cruel. Some adults are evil and cruel. When they're younger, they want to seem perfect to their child. Why? It's a power thing. If my child thinks that I'm perfect, they're only going to see them for themselves and never going to come after me for any of the things that they can experience in their life, which is the things that a parent is keeping quiet to their children, right? I had a conversation about this today, and it's funny how it comes up now. If you are a parent and you have not told your children everything about you, not everything about you, everything about the trials that you went through, because you are harboring lessons. You are harboring lessons from your children if you are not telling them how to get past these blockages, these people. For the men, right? I was supposed to be taught everything there is to know about the manipulation that goes on in relationships so I can operate above it, right? So since I had to go the other way about it, I had to operate through the BS to learn how to be above it. But I could have skipped that process with knowing everything I needed to know about how relationships work. But this is the thing that parents, at least around when I was growing up, everything was just like, get married and that's it. Why? Because of all the things that they've been through. When I was growing up, it was get married or nothing else. Get married or nothing else. Now, it's like, are you sure you want to get married to that person? It runs deep. But I don't know why I'm talking about this right now. Misery, distress, yeah, pending doom, right? The belief that everything is going to come to ruin, right, is being ruined. That belief is being contested by your desires now. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, that's what I get from the Tower. Now, the Queen of Wands is out of affinity, but it is neutral to the Earth. So that means this is not powering your Earth chakra, right? It's not powering your Earth chakra. But what it is doing is pointing out the things that you need to do with it. Like, the best way I can describe this is air and water to volcanoes and the Earth's crust in general, right? Air and water can't occupy the same space. One or the other has to be there, right? So let's just say that you know how when there's an air bubble at the bottom of a pool, it would just rise up to the top and disperse? Well, air and water don't necessarily affect each other, but they can't be in the same place. So they affect each other then. So it's effect and effect. Okay. Because the air can push the water, but it doesn't really touch it. It like moves it. Well, however you want to understand how the air and water coincides with each other is for you. But when it comes up to earth and fire, think of a volcano. You need heat to heat up the insides of the earth. And then you have this chamber that eventually will reach its maximum capacity, pressure, and release that energy. Right? Now, when you think of the Queen of Wands, this fire was put in. There is no reason but the devil. There is no reason. No reason. No reason. And they are actually poor at their job because they keep doing the same thing over and over, and I can hear it and I can feel it. It's like, hey, mess this up as best as you can. Yeah. So I'm approaching the end of this reading right now, and I hope you enjoyed it so far. But I just want to give you the last 3 pieces of this puzzle, and that has to do with the position of your ego, the position of your zodiac, and the position of your superconscious. What they have to say. And understand, when you come up to the superconscious, they know what you're here for, and they know your gift. So it's almost like your spirit and ego has a battle over the gift that you can provide to this earth. So this is for ego, zodiac. Okay? It's the 9 of Pentacles. I'll get to that in a moment. I'll tell you what this is about. This is the 6 of Cups. And that is in the place of the ego. Now, This is already telling me who is in control. Now, no, let me keep plucking because I know what I'm talking. I know what I'm saying right now. We're gonna get to it. Let me find out what your gift is right now. So, what the gift means, what it necessarily means is, understand it as a double-edged sword. It's something that you can do that can protect, hurt, or even cut yourself. Right? But ideally, we wanna use it to increase our abundance and to help, right? But it can be used the wrong way, just like any gift. Oh, that wanted to come out. All right. So. Wow, so I put it down. The sun on the bottom of the deck. So that helps you out. The sun lights your way. Let me just leave it over here. Maybe I need to speak about it. So this is the full reading and what it will look like when it's finished, right? And it will give you the perspective of literally everything that you can think of. And the 3 personalities, colonos, that are speaking inside of you and at the same time. So think of it as your zodiac is speaking to you, your ego is speaking to you, and your superconscious is speaking to you at the same time. But you also have your own nature. So, what is the zodiac telling you right now? This is a 9 card, and that's a very good card to have right now, especially if you're a Cancer sign, because the 9 is the place of your sign, right? The 9 is the 9th Sephiroth. When you start from the top to the bottom, you have the 10 Sephiroth, the 9th one is your sign, right? So 9 is giving me a good sign. Well, let's look at what the card actually means. So, alright, so for the zodiac, a woman with a bird upon her wrist stands amidst a great abundance of grapevines in the garden of a great house. So, it's like you are naturally aligned to the abundance that you seek. It's all for you. It only requires you to act on some things. Because I realize what 10 is. 9 and 10 is just before you actually get to use the things. 9 and 10 is the last point of the mental process. It's before you relinquish yourself of the fear. It's right before that moment. The 9 is the mental foundation. The 9 is almost like you starting off the journey with no armor. And the 10 is you have what you need to go out in this world, defend yourself, and to live. Right? Yeah. But the meaning for the 9 of Pentacles, it has to do with prudence, safety, success, accomplishment, certitude, and discernment. Right. As I was saying before, your spirit knows what you want because it's directly connected to God and the soul. So let me explain something really quickly about what's connected to what and who can communicate with who and with what channel. That's what this said to me. So, your body has 3 channels of communication absent of the Sephiroth, right? And that is judgment, the world, and the moon. No reason why they're doing construction 2 o'clock in the morning. Nothing's broken. Yeah. So, when it comes up to Malkut, it has 3 lines of communication. And 1 because it's directly connected to it. So, the world, imagine a world has a consciousness. So the world of manifestation is conscious, right? That's one of the parts of God's soul, right? Now, manifestation can only speak to formation. Right? Does that make sense? Through the channels of the moon and judgment and the world. And when you have a connection, to, yeah, I'm gonna just move on since there's so much construction at 2:12 in the morning, right? To the Six of Cups. And what does that mean for this reading? The Six of Cups is in a place of the ego. And that means this is what the ego is telling us right now. This is what our zodiac, this is what the sign of Cancer, the energy of Cancer is telling me right now. And this is what the superconscious is telling me right now. But it's also pointing me out to my gift. Funny thing is, oh wow, no, this is getting pointed out. No, because look at this. Remember how I said this is close to the magician? It just looks like he has one candle in his hand, right? Facing the other way. But when I looked at this, if this was faced this way, let me do it this way. You see how this hand is in the right hand, and he has this wand in the left hand? This wand is standing up because God has it in his hand. So you thinking that your foundation, or, well, I hope you can understand that. God has this staff, this wand, in his hand. I hope you can see that right now. Look how protected you are. He's not even worried about this hand. He does not have 3 arms. It is impossible for him to do something. And this is how he knows that God is there. He doesn't have to worry about that whole other side. And it's actually longer. This side is longer than this side. Don't ask me why. I don't know. But, or at least it's planted higher. But you don't even have to worry about it. That's crazy. That's funny how I made that correlation. This is in his left hand, and this staff, this wand right here, is in God's right hand. So, if you like the right hand, that's a message for you. You're my right hand. You will go to. Okay. But the Ace of Wands is your gift, as well as something that can be misused. So, now let's look at the Ace. No. Let's look at the Six of Cups really quickly. The Six of Cups has to do, is a card of memories in the past. For example, reflecting on childhood happiness, enjoyment, becoming rather from the past things that have vanished. Alright, so your ego is living in the past, and that means that you need to have new experiences for your ego to take hold on to. Because you can work hand in hand with the ego. You don't have to battle it the whole time. The ego remembers a certain life that it had. But that doesn't mean that it can't get the same satisfaction, same exact satisfaction that it got before with doing something else. There's something else that you can do that gives you the same satisfaction. Like, you don't have to drive a car, but you can go to, I don't know, some kind of Dave & Buster's and drive all the cars there and you get your fix. You know what I mean? So it just works a little hand in hand like that. But at Dave & Buster's, you was the man. But in the real world, you gotta watch the signs just like all of us. You know? So get rid of that ego and understand what you have to do. But the ego is holding all of the emotions. Look, it's smelling these emotions like it was yesterday. Like these are fresh flowers. But the ego is living in an emotional state. Yeah. Funny, this is earth and water. So, let me see that real quick. The idea of success is enough for your ego to bask in. So it's safe for you to operate with the parts of you that you're afraid to show to the world. Okay? I really hope I'm helping somebody, because I do as I'm called, and I was called to do this for some reason. Mainly, I think I was called to do this tonight, because of the unique situation I was in. Everything said not to try to film this. Everything said, do it another day. It's just another day. It's just another day. It's just another day. You sure? It's just another day. You gonna sit there? Just another day. I had to get rid of that. Just another day. Right? Because I knew, my spirit knows what kind of abundance that's lying for me. So, the only thing that was stopping my spirit from actually connecting to me is the emotions that I keep going in circles with. So when I turn, using the discernment with the help from spirit and the fortune that I had lined up for me. So these two cards right here are good to have in the same area, right? This earth, wheel of fortune is fire, and the Hierophant is earth, right? So not that it's aligned with the soul, but it's telling me that it's pointing to this side because you have a heavy weight that's coming down here. You have a heavy desire coming down on you. That doesn't mean that is not something that you want. It's something you've been praying for, dreaming about, and it's finally going to start making sense now. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so the Ace of Wands. It's your gift. Creation, invention, enterprise. The power to result in ease. Principle, beginning, source, birth, family, origin, the beginning of enterprises. According to another account, money, fortune, inheritance. Right. So this is all of your wishes. Everything that you imagined when you was younger. Everything that you swore you couldn't have. This is how you can tell it's for you. I'm going to just keep going. I'm going to see. All of your dreams and your wishes and things like that, it seems like it's impossible to deal with the current situation, right? But if you keep pressing past, it's for somebody. And that's the result of what you can do because you press past, press on, because you learn your lesson, can really help somebody in the future. I remember what I talked about, that sex and death, that life-giving process. You're helping a life do something better with itself. You're helping somebody give off better energy, and that can only help everybody in the world. So, yeah, this Ace of Wands, creation and invention got me. So, oh man, God is your right hand when it comes up to what you want to create. So don't be afraid. Look at this. I don't know. It's just like, this is definitely the other staff that was being held, but it's being held by God from the clouds. So the clouds has to do with the wind and the wands, right? I mean the swords. Clouds have to do with the swords, the air, right? And that also has to do with the space of your heart. So out of your heart comes creation. Out of your heart comes manifestation, right? That's what this is giving me. You put your heart into it, you get what you want. So you can't fake what's good for you. Like, I have to give my all to this presentation in order for you to get your abundance. Because I believe that I can. I don't know. I take it seriously that I can help you. So I'll do everything in my power to do that. I've always wanted to help people. And I've always looked for a way. And I found a way. Now all I gotta do is take the time, I can only talk about me to a certain extent. And when it comes up to the Cancer sign, your side, our two physical processes, other than the mental, we have two mental, we have two physical. It's the star and temperance, right? When it comes up to temperance, we got patience down packed because that's in our element. But when it comes up to the star, which is pushing that light power, that light energy, it heats us up. And that's generally what happens. We run hot. We run hot, and what does that mean? We lose our ability to germinate. You know, when it comes up to the seeds in the ground, if you put scalding hot water on the seed, you'll probably kill it. You need to put regular temperature water, room temperature water, natural cooled water, right? That's the only thing that's going to help it. If it's too hot, it's going to burn it. If it's too cold, it's going to freeze it. It's never going to go nowhere, right? But that's all in discernment. And that comes with your gift. So, if the star in me, you know, from your side, right? If the star in me is telling me that in order for me to even out the let me get it so it makes sense. So, let's just say my biggest perspective, my most controlled perspective is right here. And this is the one that I can use the most. And that's your side, right? So, my two physical processes are temperance, which leads me to the sun, pleasure. Patience leads me to pleasure. And being myself, the star in me, brings me to my value in my relationships, right? Brings me to my victory. Being myself brings me to my victory. And patience brings me to my pleasure. So, this world is not patient. So, that's already a negative for Cancers, right? You're automatically you're automatically getting this programming of you need to get what you want now, and the time is now, and not in divine timing, right? That's one of the battles for us, and it's the most annoying card in the deck for us. Trust me. If you ask a Cancer, he's gonna say the Temperance card pissed me off. Temperance card. No other card. Forget the other cards. Temperance card. The star, I like the star. Temperance, patience, something that I already been doing, and then I had to do it more. You can barely pay me. God had to do that. And yeah. So the mental processes when it comes up to Cancer has to do with the sun, which is right here. That's why I had it. The sun was on the bottom of the deck. That's why I left it there. It has to do with the sun, right? And the world. So, you know how you turn lead into gold? Oh, wow. I'm forgetting the story or whatever, but I think it was King Midas who can turn anything into gold. He can turn lead into gold. Or alchemy. The main goal in alchemy itself was to figure out how to turn mundane material like lead, base material or whatever material like lead into gold. Funny thing about that is lead is right here, represented by the Saturn energy, right? The world. I've done my research, and when I looked up what the world has to do with some of the alchemical elements in alchemy, it led me to the world being the card for lead itself. And the sun is naturally the card for gold. So, lead into gold is our forte. But it's all a mental process. This is the mental process. And we're turning, in my idea, what I'm doing is turning that stagnant lead fixation you have, or fixations we all have within ourselves, and alchemizing it. Lead to gold. There's not really much more I can say about that. Led to gold. That's what I'm after. We all trying to be Super Saiyans out here. Led to gold. But yeah. Gold is about the circulatory system and also the heart. Lead is about the excretory system, you know, the waste system. And has to do with the earth, of course. But it says it's the mark. So anything you do marks the earth. And that gives it the point that you can mark it. It's more like you make your statement. Yeah. But that lead into gold process is a mental process. So it's not physically doing it, but turning those thoughts, those dark thoughts. Thank you. That's what the Cancer's ability is. We turn those dark thoughts into light thoughts. We get rid of the darkness around it and uncover the light source inside. So it's like every mind is beautiful. You just have to see it for yourself. And I don't know. 9. There's only one 9 here. 9, 6. That's funny. So 6, 9 is a Cancer sign. Yeah, that's funny. 3, 6, 9. If you really want to get funny with it, 1, 2, 3, 6, 9. Alright. Said that for absolutely no reason. I remember when I said the Empress had 12 stars on her head. So 1, 2, 3, 6, 6, 9, 12. Don't know why I did that. There's a lot of order that I'm picking up on. Oh. This person has the world in his hands. The manifestation that they have on their own lives. What they believe. What you believe that you can do in the position that you're in is great things. You believe you can make that mark on the world. You believe you can... You have strong beliefs. So stay true to yourself and you believe them first. So nobody can persuade you for something else. I hope that makes sense. You have to believe in what you believe stronger than anybody else believes anything else over your life. And I learned this today. Big lesson. Big lesson. I'm trying to see if I missed anything else for water signs. Naturally, the spirit is where you dominate as a water sign. Desire, of course, at the chakra of the water, the sacral, yeah, right? When it gets up to the forces, that's one thing I forgot. So this is the mental, this is the physical, right? This is the dark, this is the light. This is going within. The desire is going within to find your desire, right? And will is going without to do the things to get to your desire or to achieve it, right? So this trinity is aspiring what you want, aspiration for what you want to do, the desires you want, the desires you have. $2:33 in the morning. You can't make this up. Why are they doing so much work at 2:33 in the morning? Okay, this is how you know this needs to be out here. Somebody needed to hear this today. I'm glad I could be here for you. There's a water sign today, or a reader that really needed to hear this. So let me continue with these forces. I already told you about the elemental forces, right? The 4 elemental forces. And then you have ether, which is your aspirational desire or whatever, however you want to see that. Then you have this card right here, it really represents the space of this triangle right here, which is your superconscious, right? So your superconscious is packed with that gift. It knows how to use it. It knows what you need to do with it, but you are the person in charge. It knows the scope of everything that you can do with it, and it's not going to allow you to use it without you being ready. So that's one thing about that. Then it is the id, which is the zodiac space, which is this right triangle right here. This other side is the ego. So the superconscious had two parts, id, ego, and they operate with each other on different spectrums of the mind to get us to do what we need to do, right? I already explained those energies. So I explained in, out, mental, which is this line right here, physical, dark, light. And when it comes up to the energy of the Trinity, it goes from aspiration to desire to will. To aspiration, desire to will. That's how it runs. When it comes up to the elements, it goes backwards. It goes, I have to do it with the seasons because it makes more sense that way. Winter, spring, summer, fall. And this is the only place that time is in this whole space. So you can understand the scope of time. This is a rundown at the end so it can clear some things up for somebody. Maybe I'll get another explanation of it, but let me keep going. Now, after you exit this inner world, right? Because this is essentially the inner world. There's the outer world, what you have. Let me put this face down so you can make sense of it. There's the outer world. I can't really close this one, but this is doubles as the soul, space of the soul, and the crown energy. So, space of the soul is the world of emanation, as well as the crown, which is Kether, right? Hopefully you can still see this clearly, and I'm not just speaking, right? Yeah. What else can I say? So, the body, spirit, and the mind houses basically the world you live in. So this is the inside world where you decide all of your actions, and then there's the outside world where all of your action affect or gets affected by, right? So these places can stop you according to what they are in the affinities. So the fire affinity to air, they're in support. Air and fire is in support, right? And fire and earth is neutral. But the thing is with this, earth and fire on this side is supported. So as a reader, you'll be able to see these things and understand why they're connecting the way they do. But also, with the electric content that's on here, you can also find out what the problem is. Just looking at this, you can tell that this is a big part of the problem. This needed to happen. This tower moment needed to happen for you to understand what's here for you. Yeah. I'm trying to see if I forgot anything. Oh, of course I forgot stuff. But I kind of just had to let it flow today. And if you enjoyed this content, I'm glad you could be here. My name is Kai-Fi. This is the Zin-Finity Board, and I'm glad you are one of the first people to experience it firsthand. Now, this is for the water signs, of course. There will be, I'm going to work in order. I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you the order that I'm going to do, right? It's going to be water, air, fire, and earth. Why? Because we're going to start in the winter. We're going to go to the spring. We're going to go to the summer. Then we're going to end it off with the fall, right? And after we get there, then I can split into separate zodiacs. Why? Because I felt like there was too much still information to go over for me to just jump into it like that. And it still needs some more deliberation, and I still need to practice more. And clearly, but you know, I will get there, and when I do, it's over. It's over for the things that occupy our mind, because I won't let them no more. I would literally push them out of the way, because all of the perspectives are here. You can see what the problem is now. Everything else is almost like it's in power and is right, but the emotions was off. And it's funny that the emotions is off, because we are water signs, constantly swayed off by equilibrium. That's gonna be off. This is almost expected to be off. I'm not surprised by this. And any water sign you hear about in their emotions and feelings, you're probably not surprised about. So that's funny that, I'm not surprised. Yeah, so I really hope you enjoyed this video, and of course you will have plenty more where that came from. I don't even know how many videos it's going to take for me to get the information out first, because I realize there's so much that I haven't said. There's so much to say. I have to just take it day by day, right? I realized I first started this with the zodiac flat off. I was going to start with Cancer sign, and then I had too many ideas about how to do the water at the same time. But who knows what they're supposed to do at the start of any journey. So you got to take it day by day, and I'm here today. Glad I could be here. Shout outs to the water signs. I love you. I hope you love this as much as I enjoyed presenting it to you today. My name is Kafa, and I'm out.